Welcome back. We're going to be covering the weekly performance report. I've done some updates, trying something new here. It seems that my days on YouTube are numbered because, well, it just seems that way for reasons we can get into another time. But with that said, I am trying to... What I really liked about videos is, besides going off script, I would just talk about my positions and discuss them and whatever crossed my mind on them and what I'm doing with them and what I'm seeing with them and things like that. And I was not doing that in my weekly performance report, the written version. I simply wrote how I did that week and that was it. So with that said, I am now trying to do some commentary and make note and explicitly express what it is I might have sold and or bought. So with that said, let's just go through it. So noticeable activities over the last week. Sold USAP, ATI, those are my specialty alloy manufacturing names that I had, or they were. OGI, Organigram, and DRS, Leonardo. I sold those. I didn't sell them due to lack of conviction in them, but due to higher convictions in other names, primarily Joe, St. Joe Company. However, I did initiate a new position into CELH, Celsius. The energy drink, if you're not familiar with them, you are now. So, Joe reported another good earnings. Excuse my technical analysis, but it looks to me that it's either going to coil further, break out, or break down. If it breaks out, I don't want to be chasing. However, I'm more than happy to purchase more if it coils. Quite honestly, other than a market-wide pan sell-off or interest rates getting jacked up a couple points higher, I don't know why it would break down. Could a catalyst for the inflection higher be their upcoming annual meeting of shareholders? Perhaps. This is my beautiful technical analysis skills of the St. Joe Company over a 1-year time frame. And I don't know, what was that? A wedge, consolidation, triangle pattern thingy? See what happens. I don't know. I really don't. Valet is one of those that in an earlier video at some point in life has been creating one of these sorts of patterns. I can't say I followed up on it, so I don't know what happened or hasn't happened. I would say it either broke down or remained in the coil because it's still at, like, VALE is the ticker symbol, in case I'm pronouncing it wrong. But is that 12 something? Seems to be at a good support. I mean, technical analysis is kind of an extra layer onto buying and or selling, but not so much selling, but buying. So, well, unless it's a trade, which we'll get into in Celsius in a moment. I've been stalking this name for nearly a year now, but I've never pulled the trigger. I finally told myself either buy it or stop watching it. So I bought it. As far as market cap size goes, it's 3 times larger than my second largest name. I don't really care about that. I just thought that was an interesting factoid. I'm still unsure if this is going to be a trade or a longer term position. The stock recently experienced a normal 28% correction and filled the gap from their last quarter earnings report breakout. They too should have earnings coming out in the next couple of weeks, as well as St. Joe. This will be the first that we hear official. St. Joe already reported earnings. I can't not correct myself. St. Joe reported earnings. What I was referencing here is Celsius will be reporting earnings in the next couple of weeks, but St. Joe has that annual shareholder meeting coming up, which could act as a catalyst, which is similar on that level of analysis of news catalyst in regards to Celsius in this upcoming earnings report. And the reason for that is this will be the first time that we hear official word as to how their international expansion is going. I have no opinion as to whether it'll be up or down 20% on that day, and both options are possible. As a side note, and this is exactly why I like doing the videos, There seems, to the best I can gauge, a lot of excitement around them going into Canada. So if that means there's excitement, I would say normally it's probably priced in. So even if the C-suites at Celsius say, hey, Canada's doing great, it would be less likely to pop on the news because everybody was already expecting that from their third-party informants. Now, in the case of this particular specific circumstance, it just suffered a 28% drawdown. So that also would cushion the pullback that might occur on earnings. Ultimately, these are all speculation and I don't have a clue, but worth considering and bracing yourself for that moment either way so you don't panic and get caught off guard. I've had an unexpectedly good month, but that pretty much boils down to one name, Grown Rogue. It gapped up on April 1st, but it was anything but an April Fool's joke. It's been running ever since. That would be this chart. Let's do some quick math. It's up roughly 60% in the last month. It was 20% of my portfolio a month ago, meaning that my portfolio should be up approximately 12%. And that's roughly in line with my performance this month. What this means is that the remaining 80% of my portfolio has been flat on the month. Sure, some names are up, some are down, but in aggregate, it's flat. These guys at Grown Rogue just can't stop executing. In the last couple of days, they've increased their ownership stake at their Michigan operations. I'm trying not to be too excited about my portfolio being up this much this quick. 11% in a month is, well, I think that will be my best month ever. If it holds, no, it won't. It will be my second best month. But I kind of don't count the first month, the Cup of Coffee Capital inception month in January of 2023, which was 15%, because I kind of don't, but it is a high water mark, but I don't think that will probably ever happen. But of course, I didn't think I was going to have an 11% month either. Of course, yet again, there's 2 days left, and a lot can happen in 2 days. I'm trying not to be too excited about my portfolio being up this much this quick. The reason is simple. If I get excited when it's up, then that means I'll be excited when it falls. And if you want a surefire way to make unforced errors, it's being excited when your stocks are cratering. Therefore, I'll count my blessings, keep executing, and maintain a state of equanimity. I ended the week up 4.94%. Here you see my monthly as of the end of last month. It's kind of interesting because I'm not quite sure where the numbers are, but 2 days left in the month. And I'm not just saying it to be humble or hedge my bet. I'm serious. Like, a lot can happen in 2 days. So, with that said, it's kind of interesting that at the end of March, my portfolio year to date was up 4.8%. And then the S&P was up 10.4%. And then in 1 month's time, and this can go for you or against you, so keep that in mind. This time it's working for me. There's times that it won't. Hopefully not, but it just seems like that would be the case. So with that said, in a month's time, I'm essentially gone from 4% to, say, 16%. And the S&P has gone from 10.4% to, 5% year to date. Which is to say, at one point I was, real rough numbers, at one point, at the end of last month, end of March, I was underperforming the S&P by 50%. Say I was up 5%, the S&P's up 10%. I'm underperforming 50%, you could say it. And then 1 month later, I'm now outperforming the S&P by 200%. Hopefully you understand these relative numbers and not absolutes and things like that. But like that large of a switch. Now, I just find that interesting, like 1 month's time. And that's why a lot of people will say things like the stock market's gambling. If things can happen that quick and vast differences can occur that quickly, then you just must be gambling. which is absurd, and I would elaborate on that, but I'm actually crunched for time, which is why this video is coming out so late, so I'm not going to expound upon that, which is the whole point of these videos. But you know, I got a lot to do in a short period of time, so I was actually with I don't know, shadow banning or whatever is occurring on my YouTube channel. For the past couple of months, I've been stuck at like 5 new subscribers a month, which has never been the case. Never. And it's just, I'm not happy with it. I suspect it's the consequence of me making links in my description to the link that can't be named. I think Twitter shadow bans that too, which would explain some lack of effectiveness of me putting my links to things there as well. So that's also why last week's video and this week's video will not have a link. It's unfortunate. And I think perhaps it even monitors the video itself. So if that word that can't be mentioned, the S word, is, or maybe even if I say it, I don't know. It's kind of absurd, and I really don't like dog and pony shows and things like that, but it is what it is, and nonetheless, I'll leave that there. So yeah, this is what's going on, and yeah, I don't have much more to say than what I said, so I'll leave that there. I did, as you'll see. Man, I've pretty much sold so many names and used all my cash to buy Grown Rogue in the past couple of months. B, I wanted to top off my Valeris and Uranium position, and that's not happening, or as of yet to happen. I've got a position size in Grown Rogue, so I can't, as my own imposed mandate of not investing more than 20% of my portfolio in a company. So Grown Rogue is now 25%. So I can't put any more money to that, even though my cost basis of the portfolio is 17%. So I could finagle that and play some mental accounting to add more, and I might play that game. It just seems ridiculously cheap. I just don't understand what's going on. I have some ideas, but St. Joe, that's now almost 17%. As a week ago, it was roughly, call it 13%, and then Valeris is 13-ish%. It was, I think, at one point 17% when I sold out of Transocean and bought more Valeris with my Transocean proceeds. I think it was at 17%, but as a consequence of cash contributions coming into the portfolio with the weekly $50 deposits and my Grown Rogue position knocking out the ballpark, and as a consequence of being, not only is Grown Rogue doing quite well, like suspiciously well, like nervously well, but it's also, I mean, it was 20% of my portfolio. A fifth of my portfolio is affected by it. So up, down, that controls a lot of my portfolio. So as a consequence of the cash contributions and Grown Rogue's outperformance, Valeris has shrunk and the uranium names have shrunk. So, I mean, at one point, the uranium names, that was close to 20% of my portfolio, just as Valeris was. And so in the upcoming weeks, I might have to top those off if they pull back and such. But with that said, I'll leave it here. Thank you for watching, and until next time.